This bar of gold you are looking at weighs exactly 12.5 kilogram and it's worth approximately 9.5 crore. It was once rock, and before that it was stardust forged inside a dying star billions of years before our solar system even existed. And between that star and geoscreen, it took a supply chain so complex, so secretive and so ruthlessly secured that most of the world has no idea it even exists. Today, we trace every kilometer of that journey from the deepest mine on earth to a refinery in Switzerland to an armored vault in Dubai and to a bank in Mumbai and finally to the gold necklace in a jeweller's window in Crore or in Zawadi Bazaar, or even the one you now see listed on online marketplace, which is a recent evolution in India's gold retail story. Welcome to today's episode of Logistically Speaking, where I bring you the logistic of gold, and it is nothing like what you imagine. Before we go underground, let's establish just how extraordinary this metal is, because the logistic of gold is directly shaped by its almost incomprehensible value density. If every single ounce of gold ever mined in human history were melted together, it would form a cube barely 22 meters tall, roughly the height of a 4-story building. And yet, based on a gold price of $4,166 per troy ounce, which is 31 gram per troy, all of the world's mined gold is valued at $29 trillion, more than the entire GDP of the United States. But where is that gold right now? 45% exists as jewellery, 22% is held as bars and coins, and central bank collectively own about 17% using gold as a strategic hedge against inflation and geopolitical stability. And the rest sit in electronics, dentistry, aerospace and industrial applications. In 2025, total annual gold demand exceeded 5,000 tons for the first time in history. The gold prices set 53 new all-time high during the year, yielding an unprecedented market value of $555 billion and more than 45% year-on-year growth. And India sits at the very heart of this story. India is one of the world's leading countries for gold import. Our country produces only a minimum amount of its gold needs through local mining. The RBI now holds a record 880 tons of gold reserve, and gold's share of India's total foreign exchange reserve have climbed from 9% to over 15%, almost entirely due to price appreciation. In 2025, global gold production exceeded 3,600 metric tons. The 5 major gold producing countries were China at 380 ton, Australia and Russia at 330 ton each, Canada at 202 and the United States at 158 tons. Gold mining comes in 2 primary forms. The first is open pit mining, enormous craters carved into earth where surface deposits lie relatively close to the top. And the second, far more dramatic, and that is underground mining. The world's deepest gold mine is Mumbai, located near Johannesburg, South Africa. It has been in operation since 1986 and reaches a depth of 4.2 kilometers below surface. At those depths, rock temperature can reach 60 degrees Celsius. Miners are kept alive by one of the most sophisticated underground air conditioning systems on earth. At those depths, think about this. You are mining a rock that has been undisturbed for 3 billion years. Every gram of gold you pull out carrying a logistic supply chain measured not in kilometers but in geological time. But extracted rock isn't gold, not yet. Mining companies often operate in remote sites, relying on meticulous coordination between air, rail and road carriers to move heavy machinery, chemical like cyanide and extracted gold ore to and from these rugged locations. The ore is crushed, milled and then subject to a chemical process. And the most common method is cyanide leaching, which is a controlled industrial process where a dilute cyanide solution dissolves the gold out of the entire ore or the surrounding rock. Use of hazardous chemicals is subject to worldwide controls. Governments and public demand safer and more sustainable reagents, which has caused supply disruptions, with a newer alternative proving costlier or less available. What emerges from this process is something called doré bar. Miners produce semi-pure bars of gold, which is called doré bars, and send them to refiners. A doré bar is a rough, impure alloy, typically 70 to 90% of gold with silver and other traces of metal mixed in. It doesn't look like gleaming bars you picture in a vault. It looks like a dull and clumsy brick. But inside that dull brick is one of the most valuable substance on earth, and it now needs to begin its journey. Now comes a step that almost no one talks about, and the step where most extraordinary security in civilian logistics kick into action. Moving a doré bar from a mine in the middle of the Ghanaian bush or the Siberian tundra or the Western Australian desert to a refinery in Switzerland or in India, it's not like shipping a container of electronics. Given the high value of gold, security during transit is a major concern. Companies use armored vehicles and tight security measures to ensure that gold reaches its destination safely. Precious metals traverse the globe via plane, train and armored truck. Brink's is a global leader in precious metal transport that import various forms of gold for its clients, mainly the jewelers. The top 5 gold importers in India in 24-25 tell a fascinating story of who controlled the gold chain. Brink's India leads the list with handling 14.39% of total imports through secure logistics. Next comes HDFC Bank, who import 12.71% for investment, trading and reserves. Then MMTC Palm at 12.36%, which is India's only LBMA accredited refinery. Next comes Secure Logistics, who handle 8.98% and do secure transport to refineries and jewelers. And lastly, ICICI Bank, who import 8.76% LBMA accredited gold to sell to jewelers. Efficient and secure transportation planning is now a top priority for minimizing logistical constraints, theft and delays. Strategies include leveraging multimodal transportation, road, rail, air and sea based on route demand, security condition and infrastructure status. GPS and IoT-based fleet management tools enable real-time visibility and operational efficiency. But here is a dark side of gold logistics that nobody in the industry wants to talk about. All that security exists because people have tried and sometimes succeeded in stealing it. Let me talk about 2 cases of heist that showcases exactly why gold logistics demand extreme security. First, the Brink's Mat robbery near Heathrow Airport in London in 1983. 6 armed men held by an insider security guard broke into a warehouse expecting £3 million in cash. Instead, they found 3 tons of gold bullion today, which is worth around $390 million. The gold was melted down and fed back into legitimate market. Second, at Pearson Airport heist, Toronto 2023. A truck driver used a fraudulent seafood waybill to collect a shipment from Air Canada's cargo warehouse. Inside were 24 gold bars and $2 million in cash flown from Zurich, which is worth about $20 million. The bars were allegedly melted to erase serial numbers. Different decades, different continents, but the same message. When you are transporting concentrated wealth, security isn't optional. It's everything. What makes this heist chilling for logistic professionals is not the audacity, it's a method. The physical security held firm, the digital system worked as designed, but the failure occurred at the intersection of trust and verification. Once the doré bar has survived the journey from the mine, it arrives at the most technically demanding stage of the entire gold supply chain, that is the refinery. Refiners receive doré bars from miners as well as scrap metal from recyclers. Refining is a chemical process of removing impurities from mined or recycled material. The 2 most common are the Miller process and the Woolville process. During the Miller process, the refiner melts down the impure gold and blows a stream of chlorine gas through the molten metal. Unwanted elements solidify into chlorides and separate from the gold. This process produces 99.95% of pure gold. The Woolville process involves sending an electric current through the mixture, dissolving contaminating metals and leaving behind pure gold, reaching 99.999% purity. At the pinnacle of global gold refining sit the London Bullion Market Association. Without it, you are effectively shut out of the global gold market. In India, only one refinery holds this status, MMTC Pump in Haryana, about 40 kilometers south of New Delhi. A joint venture between Switzerland's Pump SA and MMTC Limited. It is India's only LBMA good delivery refinery for both gold and silver, with capacity to refine over 300 tons of gold and 600 tons of silver annually. Globally, the refining giants are clustered in Switzerland, despite the country having no gold mines of its own. Pump SA, Valcambi, and Agon Heracles, all located in Ticino near the Italian border, process a significant share of the world's gold supply. After refining, gold takes multiple forms. 400 troy ounce or 12.44 kilogram bars are traded between central banks and institutional players, and kilobars and smaller investment bars are used by banks and investors. Gold grains are used by jewellery manufacturers and minted coins by retail buyers, each stamped with a serial number, assay certificate, and increasingly a digital record. Refined gold now needs to reach the market. And this is where the story gets very India specific, because the way India buys gold is unlike anywhere else in the planet. India is the world's second largest consumer of gold. Gold imports surged to exceptional levels in 2025, with the festive season driving volumes estimates of 100 to 104 tons in a single month, that is in September alone. But here is a critical regulatory reality. Only RBI authorized agencies and banks can import gold into India. Before the metal can be imported, it must be properly licensed and cleared by customs, and this means gold doesn't flow freely into India. It flows through a controlled, government supervised pipeline, and the nominated agencies and authorized banks are the gatekeepers. India's gold primarily comes from UAE, or specifically Dubai. Once gold clears Indian customs, it enters the bullion distribution network of banks and specialized dealers, and that's where the price begins to build, starting with the international spot price and then adding 6% import duty, 3% GST, insurance and freight, and finally bank and refiner margin. So by the time it reaches a gold jewellery manufacturer, the per 10 gram gold cost in India sit well above the global benchmark, and which is why Indian buyers track international gold prices so closely. At the same time, gold now move on two tracks, that is the physical route of stores, coins and bars, and the digital route of apps, gold ETF on BSE and NSE, sovereign gold bonds, and even e-commerce coin, meaning the modern gold supply chain is no longer just about moving metal, but also about moving digital ownership alongside. The gold supply chain is about to undergo the most significant transformation in a century, and it centers in one word: transparency. The uncomfortable truth is that each participant in the gold supply chain knows their immediate supplier, but not their supplier's supplier. Each is blind to the origin of the raw material present in that product. It is this very lack of visibility that allows irresponsible sourcing to take place. No one can say how much of this metal used in our daily lives has been responsibly mined. Artisanal and small-scale mining in countries like the DRC, Ghana and Peru accounts for roughly 20% of the global gold supply, but working conditions are often dangerous, child labor has been documented, and mercury is sometimes used, creating serious environmental and ethical concerns. The industry's response is accelerating. Blockchain provenance platforms such as MindSpider and Everledger are building digital ledgers that track a specific gold bar from a specific mine through a specific refinery to a specific retailer, recording every custody transfer and assay. Palm launched Veriscan in 2015 to authenticate bullion product instantly and reduce counterfeiting risk. Fair Mine certification provides third-party audits for responsible artisanal mining, paying premium prices to communities that need environmental and social standards. At the same time, countries are pushing at-source refining. Ghana partnering with a Rand refinery and Mali developing a 200-ton per year refinery, all reducing logistic risk and aligning with the global ESG mandate for transparent sourcing. For India, the opportunity is clear. MMTC Palm's Managing Director Samit Guha has urged that government to correct duty discrepancies that disadvantage domestic refiners arguing that reform could unlock investment, improve returns, and scale India's refining capacity to global standards. India wants to be not just the world's largest gold consumer, but also one of its great refining hubs. So, now when you look at that beautiful gold necklace, you know it has traveled further thousands of kilometers, passed through more hands, survived more scrutiny, and required more technology than almost any product on earth. And every year, 5,000 tons of it makes that journey. If you found this deep dive valuable, do subscribe. We trace the hidden supply chains that move the world and bring them to you. Thank you for watching till then.